Gewichtloos. The Delvwares family's great gravity adventure. Starring Albert, Florence, Amanda, and Mark. It was a day like any other for Florence and Albert Delvware. So there they sat, 8 a.m, in silence, munching respectively on toast and cornflakes, when out of the blue, with just an audio swoosh, a single off-white card slipped through the letter slit in the front door, wafting its way to the floor face down. Albert looked up from his cornflakes. Glancing over his bifocals, he eyed the card lying on the carpet by the front door. His mind became alive. Well, as alive as Albert's mind could come at this time of day, or any other for that matter. Albert's curiosity grew into mobility. Easing himself out of the chair, he made his way by the well-worn route to the door and picked up the card. Turning it over in his fingers, Albert thought he recognized the local council's logo, but was as blind as a bat with or without his glasses, so he called out to Florence to come and read the card for him. "How unusual!" exclaimed Florence. "It seems that they're going to turn the gravity off between 2:30 and 5 this afternoon. It says that we should all take appropriate measures to secure ourselves, the house, yard, contents, pets and small children, and that we are under no circumstances to leave the house during the above stated hours." "What do they mean, turn the gravity off? They can't do that." Albert was up and away, searching madly through rooms, rummaging in drawers and boxes for his magnifying glass. Albert finally found his magnifying glass and came back into the lounge room. Albert had to continually pull focus to be able to read the card, which to his mounting disbelief and blood pressure was saying exactly what Florence had told him, and still he found it hard to grasp the gravity of the situation. Florence disappeared into the kitchen to the jangle of the tea tray. Albert slumped back into the settee, magnifying glass in hand, then fell asleep. Meanwhile, outside on Whale Street, an awesomely enormous mechanical device was delivered by truck, dumped in the middle of the road. It resembled a minimalist impression of 150 years of rail engine design merged into sort of one object, endowed with lots of antennae and gizmos hanging off all over the place, and topped off with an oversized inverted beach umbrella. Inside the graviton, Captain Stratton selects several buttons and barks into the microphone. "Stand by. 5-second test in 4, 3, 2. He pressed the test only button. Inside, Albert, asleep still, floats a few feet into the air, then back to the couch. Florence in the kitchen does the same, but doesn't sense the experience, being too preoccupied with her own thoughts. The sing-song speech of welcomings filled the house as Florence ushered Mark, Amanda and luggage through the front door into the lounge room. "Look, dear, it's Mark and Amanda. They've come to visit," Florence announced. Albert went into animated action the instant he realized who had arrived and leapt out of the settee, arms outstretched to embrace his grandchildren. "What a pleasure to see you both," said Albert, releasing a relieved Amanda, stepping back to take them both in. "Come on, Let's get this stuff stowed away up in the spare room. It was such a beautiful day that they all decided to have lunch in the backyard. If anybody had bothered to look at the time, which none of them had done, they would have seen that it was coming up to 2:30, and if Albert and Florence had had access to just a modicum of memory cells, they may have been prepared for what was about to happen, but they weren't. At first the air began to tingle a little, just barely noticeably. Then small things like ants and crumbs on plates started to lift very, very slowly into the air. Before long, a half-eaten plate of sandwiches drifted up past Albert's nose. This is most unusual, exclaimed Albert. What's happening? Mark cried out, finally finding his voice as he too lifted into the air. I've got no idea. Mind you, it feels sort of fun. I think I'm going to fly. Amanda made flapping gestures with her arms as she too lifted into the air. What can we do? What can we do? Cried out Florence to anyone who might have a suitable suggestion as she too started to spin uncontrollably up into the air. Hold on, dear. I'm coming, called Albert.